Family gave me a worthless swamp. It sold for $2.2 million. The text came in at 11:42 a.m. on a Tuesday. I was on a scaffolding inspecting a weld on a bridge retrofit in Austin when my pocket buzzed. I ignored it. Safety first. When I finally unclipped my harness and checked my phone 20 minutes later, I saw 14 missed calls. 6 from my mother. 8 from my brother, Caleb. Then the text message from Mom. We need to talk about the inheritance. There was a mistake. Come over for dinner. Pot roast. I stared at the screen. My stomach did that slow, heavy roll it always does when I have to deal with my family. A mistake. That's what they call it when the math stops working in their favor. I typed back 2 words. What mistake? The response was immediate. Bubbles dancing on the screen for a solid minute. Dad didn't know about the highway project. It's not fair, David. Caleb is struggling. We need to repool the assets. Family helps family. I didn't reply. I just opened my Photos app, scrolled back to a picture I took 18 months ago, and hit send. It was a high-resolution image of a quitclaim deed, signed, notarized, and stamped by the Travis County clerk. Then I put my phone on Do Not Disturb and went back to work, because unlike my brother, I have a job to do. I'm David. I'm 38. I'm a structural engineer. I measure loads, stress fractures, and breaking points. I'm good at it because structures make sense. If you overload a beam, it snaps. Physics doesn't care about your feelings. Physics doesn't have a favorite child. My family, however, operates on a different set of laws. My father passed away 2 years ago. Heart attack. Quick, messy, and left a vacuum that my mother, Ellen, immediately tried to fill with chaos. The estate wasn't massive, but it was significant. The crown jewel was the house in Georgetown, a 4-bedroom colonial on a half-acre, fully paid off, appraised at roughly $750,000. Then there was the bog. That's what we called the 12 acres of land out in the unincorporated county limits. Dad bought it in the 90s thinking he'd build a workshop there, but he never did. It was low-lying, prone to flooding, covered in mesquite and scrub oak, and accessible only by a dirt easement that washed out every time it rained. When the will was read, it was a standard split evenly between my 2 sons' instruction. But you can't split a house and a bog evenly. Caleb needs the house, my mom said. We were sitting in the lawyer's conference room. Caleb was 34, recently divorced, unemployed again, and finding himself. He sat there looking tragic in a suit that didn't fit, nodding along. He has the boys, Mom continued. Caleb has 2 sons he sees every other weekend. He needs stability, David. You have Sarah. You have your career. You're established. Established. That's family code for, we can take from you because you won't starve. The appraisal on the land is $45,000. The lawyer, a tired man named Mr. Henderson, said, the house is $750,000. To make this equitable, Caleb would need to buy David out of half the house's value, or you sell the house and split the cash. Caleb made a noise like a wounded animal. I can't get a mortgage for $375,000 right now, Dave. You know my credit is shot from the divorce. So sell the house, I said. We split the cash. You get $375,000. That's a fresh start. Mom slammed her hand on the mahogany table. And sell your father's legacy? Absolutely not. That house stays in the family. She turned to me, eyes wide and pleading, the look she's perfected over 3 decades. David, honey, just take the land. We'll call it even. Your brother needs a win. I did the math in my head. I was losing over $300,000 in equity to keep the peace. I looked at Caleb. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at the Zillow estimate of the house on his phone, already mentally decorating the master bedroom. I looked at Mom. She was already resentful that I was making her ask. I thought about the fights, the screaming matches if I forced a sale, the guilt trips. The dad would have wanted you to look out for your brother's speeches. Fine, I said, but I want it legally severed. No family trust. I own the land, Caleb owns the house. Clean break. No clawbacks. Mom smiled, that beatific saintly smile. Of course, David. Family helps family. We signed the papers 3 weeks later. Caleb moved into the big house. I got a deed to a mosquito farm. For the last 2 years, I paid the minimal property taxes on it and mostly forgot it existed. Caleb, meanwhile, leveraged the house. I heard through the grapevine he took out a Helic home equity line of credit to fund a tech startup that involved drop-shipping cheap sunglasses. Then came the letter. It arrived 6 months ago. Not from a family member, but from the Texas Department of Transportation. They were planning the Southeast Loop expansion, a massive infrastructure project designed to alleviate the traffic choking the I-35 corridor. I opened the packet expecting a notification of construction noise. Instead, I found a map. A thick red line cut right through the corner of the bog. But the letter wasn't just about the road. It was about hydrology. Because the new highway would pave over hundreds of acres of permeable ground, the state needed a massive retention pond to manage runoff. They didn't just need the corner of my land. They needed the low-lying basin, the useless swamp. And because of the new interchange being built a mile up the road, the 4 acres of my land that sat on high ground, the frontage, was suddenly being rezoned from agricultural/residential to commercial. I hired my own appraiser. Then I hired a land use attorney. The initial offer from the state for the drainage easement and the right-of-way was $400,000. My attorney laughed. "David," he said, "this isn't just dirt. This is the only place the water can go. They can't build the highway without your bog." We negotiated for 5 months. We settled last week. The state paid $850,000 for the drainage acreage. But the real kicker was the remaining high ground. A developer approached me immediately after the highway plans went public. They wanted to put in a gas station and a strip center to service the new traffic flow. They offered $1.4 million. I closed both deals on Monday. Total value, $2.25 million. I didn't post about it on Facebook. I didn't buy a new truck. I put the money into a diversified portfolio and a trust for my own future kids. I told my wife, Sarah. We opened a bottle of wine, toasted to the mosquitoes, and went to bed. But these things are public record. The zoning change was in the paper. The deed transfer to the developer was filed. And in a small town, even a growing one, people talk. Someone at the county clerk's office knew my mom from church. That brings us back to the text message. A mistake. I drove home after work, showered, and walked into the kitchen. Sarah was sitting at the island, looking at my phone, which was still buzzing on the counter. "Your mom called again," she said. "She left a voicemail. She's crying." "She's not crying," I said, opening the fridge. "She's negotiating." Caleb called too. He sounds frantic. I took a beer out and sat down. He's broke. The sunglass business failed. He's probably maxed out the equity in the house, and now he sees that the trash he forced me to take is a gold mine. "Are you going over there?" Sarah asked. "No. They're going to come here," she warned. She was right. At 7:15 p.m., headlights swept across our living room window. My mom's sedan. Caleb was driving. They didn't knock. They rang the doorbell incessantly, like they were trying to transmit their panic through the wiring. I opened the door. Mom pushed past me, carrying a Tupperware container of pot roast, as if lukewarm beef could bridge a $2 million divide. Caleb followed, looking pale and sweaty. "David," Mom said, breathless, "we need to fix this." "Fix what?" I asked, leaning against the doorframe. I didn't invite them to sit. "The split," Caleb said. His voice was high, tight. "It wasn't an informed decision. We didn't know about the highway. It's fraud, basically. Withholding information." I laughed. It was a dry, sharp sound. "Withholding? I didn't work for TxDOT 2 years ago, Caleb. I didn't know." "But it's not right." Mom set the pot roast on the entry table. "That land was your father's legacy. The profit belongs to the estate. It needs to be split. 50/50ths. It's the only fair way." "Fair?" I looked at her. Really looked at her. 2 years ago, you sat in a lawyer's office and told me that giving Caleb a $750,000 asset while I got a mud pit was fair because I was established. You forced that valuation on me. You made me sign the waiver. That was different. Mom waved her hand dismissively. That was just helping your brother get on his feet. But this? Millions, David? You can't keep that. It's immoral. Did you bring the checkbook? I asked. They both blinked. What? Caleb asked. The checkbook. If we're repooling assets, that means we're reevaluating everything, right? So, Caleb, you've been living in the house for 24 months. Market rent on a place like that is, what, $3,500 a month? That's $84,000 you owe the pot. Plus the helic you took out. Did you pay that back? Or is the equity gone? Caleb's face went red. I'm investing. You don't understand business. I understand that I signed a quitclaim deed, I said, my voice dropping an octave. I understand that for 2 years, I paid taxes on land you called worthless. I understand that when the appraisal came in at $45,000, you laughed, Caleb. I remember you saying, enjoy the swamp, Dave. I was joking, Caleb shouted. We're family. We are, I nodded. But the land isn't family property anymore. Sold. The money is in my bank account. The deal is done. Mom switched tactics. The eyes welled up. The chin quivered. David, please. Your brother is in trouble. The bank is threatening to foreclose on the house if he doesn't make the payments. He leveraged it too high. If you don't share this, he loses everything. Dad's house. Gone. I felt that old pull. The hook in my chest that she had installed when I was 5 years old. Be the bigger person. Fix it. Save them. I looked at Sarah standing at the top of the stairs. She wasn't interfering, but she was watching. She knew what I'd been through. She knew about the panic attacks I used to have after family holidays. I looked back at my mother. If Caleb loses the house, that's Caleb's choice. He had a free house. Free. And he broke it. You selfish. Mom's face hardened. The mask slipped. You greedy, ungrateful child. I hope you choke on that money. I won't, I said calmly. I'm going to use it to buy a nice place with a workshop, like Dad wanted. I'm suing you, Caleb spat. I spoke to a lawyer today. Unjust enrichment. Constructive trust. We'll tie you up in court for years. I doubt it, I said. I spoke to my lawyer too, the one who handled the deed transfer 2 years ago. He made sure to include a specific clause about future appreciation and unknown value. You signed it, Caleb. You waived all rights to the property in perpetuity in exchange for the house. It's ironclad. Caleb looked like he was going to be sick. Now, I stepped back and put my hand on the doorknob. Get out of my house. You're disowning us, Mom hissed. Over money. No, I said. I'm just finally accepting the terms you set. You wanted separate assets? You got them. You wanted me to be established and handle my own affairs? I'm doing exactly what you asked. They didn't move. I'm calling the police in 3 minutes, I said, checking my watch. Trespassing is a misdemeanor. Mom grabbed the Tupperware of pot roast. For a second, I thought she was going to throw it at me. Instead, she clutched it to her chest like it was the victim in all this. She turned and marched out. Caleb followed, shooting me a look of pure, concentrated hatred. You're dead to us, he muttered. I know, I said. I was dead to you the minute I couldn't be used. I shut the door. I locked it. I engaged the deadbolt. Sarah came down the stairs. She didn't say anything, just wrapped her arms around my waist and rested her head on my back. I stood there for a long time, listening to the silence of the house. It didn't feel empty, felt clean. The fallout was predictable. I got long, rambling emails from aunts I haven't seen in a decade, telling me that blood is thicker than water. I got a threatening letter from a strip mall lawyer representing Caleb that my own attorney dismissed with a single phone call. 6 months later, the house, Dad's house, went into foreclosure. Caleb hadn't paid the property taxes or the hellic interest. It was sold at auction. I didn't bid on it. I didn't want the ghosts. I drove by the old bog recently. The construction crews are out there. There's a massive retention pond being dug, lined with concrete. The highway pillars are going up. The sign for the new commercial center is already erected. Future home of Miller's Crossing. I stopped my truck on the shoulder and watched the excavators tear up the scrub oak. I thought about the irony. My family tried to bury me in the swamp to keep the castle. But they forgot that castles crumble if you don't maintain the foundation, and swamps. Well, swamps are where life adapts. My phone buzzed. It was a notification from my bank. Interest payment deposited. I swiped it away and put the truck in gear. I had a meeting with an architect. Sarah and I are building a custom home on 10 acres in the hill country. It's not a colonial. It's modern steel and glass, built to withstand stress. And the best part? It has a gate, and I'm the only one with the code. The moral isn't that patience pays off. The moral is that when someone hands you a pile of dirt and tells you it's all you're worth, you don't argue. You take the dirt. You wait. And when the world changes and that dirt becomes gold, you remember who didn't want to get their hands muddy. I blocked their numbers the day the foreclosure sign went up. I hear they're living in an apartment in South Austin now. I hear Mom blames the corrupt government and her thieving son. Let her talk. I'm too busy building something that lasts.